I've spent the past year traveling across the country shooting photo and video. So today, I'm going to be talking everything storage, from how I offload my footage and what drives I work off of, to how I finally archive my footage for long-term storage. And I'm going to show you how to do the exact same with a setup for under $300. What's up guys, Brady here, helping you to get the most value out of your tech since 2016. I've run a sole proprietorship video and photo contracting business since about 2018, and in that time I've made some great decisions and some dumber ones, to say the least. Today we are going to go over my entire process for file management from shooting and filming to post-production, and with a new system that I implemented to make it all headache-free and as fast as possible. With all of that in mind, all of the things from this video will be linked in the description down below with Amazon affiliate links, so if you see anything that you like, run down there and pick them up while supporting the channel at no extra cost to you, the viewer. First off, let's talk about actually shooting photo and video. SD cards are important, but before you go out to Walmart or Best Buy and buy a little 32GB or 64GB card off the shelf, do some research on what type of speed SD cards that your camera supports. When you get into the high-dollar cameras like this Canon R5, the speed of the card you're buying really matters. For example, the Canon R5 uses a type of SD card called UHS-2. This card has a theoretical transfer speed of about 250 megabytes per second. Even if you're just shooting photography, when you get into things like 20 FPS burst mode and you're shooting a lot of photos at once, having a faster card will make a difference. Personally, I would recommend one of these little pro-grade cards that I'm actually not holding right now. I've actually never had one of these fail on me, but just in case, I have a backup, which is the Lexar 1667EX card. It's rated for the same speed and is much cheaper, and so far I've had a pretty good experience with both of these. I've also seen far too many people, very much myself included by the way, treat SD cards like hard drives. If there's only one thing that you can take away from this entire video, let it be this. Never, ever leave your photos and footage on your card for longer than a week. There's just so much inherent risk with having your client work or someone else's memories on a card like this without a backup. This is like so bad, but 2 years ago I had a 400GB SD card that I left in my Canon ADD at all times. I didn't offload that card for about 3 months. And that is absolutely horrible, because if something were to happen to the card, I would have been royally screwed. So I call this the 1 week rule. Always offload your card as soon as you have time. Having a backup of everything will not only save you space on the card itself, but will probably save your butt at some point too. Which leads me to the next step of this process, immediately after you shoot, offload. Having a fast and reliable offload drive with you at all times again saves you a ton of time and space. My personal recommendation is one of these Sandisk Extreme SSDs. These are USB-C, but you can also use them with a traditional USB port with the included cable. They have a lot of space on them too. This is a 2TB that I got on Black Friday for $189, and they're super portable too. They have this little keychain ring on it, so if you ever want to put it on your keys, I wouldn't recommend that, but you could. I should also make the distinction that in this process, offloading is more of an immediate temporary storage solution. When you're sitting in your hotel room and you have about an hour to catch your flight, you don't need to be sitting there waiting on a mechanical hard drive to spin up all of your files and transfer hundreds of gigabytes of photo and video footage. Now that you've got your data on the offload drive, let's talk about post-production. Remember how I said earlier that having a fast and reliable offload drive would come in handy? Well, here's where. Whatever you're editing in, whether that be Lightroom, Premiere, DaVinci Resolve, or Final Cut Pro, at this point you're better off just working with the data directly off of your offload drive with it plugged in. The transfer speeds will be much better than something like working off of your SD card directly, or again, working on one of those slow mechanical spin drives. Once you're done with your final exports and everything has been delivered to the client, we move on to the final phase of this setup, long-term archive storage. This is where these little mechanical spin drives finally come in handy. Out of all of the items on this list, in terms of storage for dollar, mechanical hard drives are an insanely good value and probably the cheapest overall. These days, with things like 4K video and higher speed of photography burst modes, I wouldn't really recommend working off of these anymore, but the value in overall terms of storage makes them an amazing choice for storing your data in the long run. You've probably seen a lot of photographers running around with these little orange lacy drives, and I was actually going to recommend them in terms of overall ruggedness for this video, but my lacy failed yesterday. I lost about 700 gigs of footage. I didn't do anything, I didn't drop it, it just died. And I did a little bit of research on it too, and this is actually a Seagate hard drive. I've owned both Western Digital and Seagate drives, and I've only ever had Seagates fail on me naturally. Point being though, if you're looking for reliability, I can't in good confidence recommend a LaCie drive. I've heard several different horror stories when I posted on my Instagram about this failing from other photographers who've had theirs fail randomly as well. So I would just recommend that you stick with Western Digital. They're typically pretty reliable. Thankfully, I also started my Amazon return with this drive, so I think I'm just gonna go pick up another Western Digital. Alternatively, you could absolutely go with something bigger and more in-depth, like a file server, or do what I used to do, which is load up your 2009 Mac Pro with a ton of hard drives, but oftentimes from my years of experience, I've found it better just to keep things simple, rather than overcomplicate them with yet another step in the process. For extra security, you could also grab a duplicate spin drive and copy all of your archive data to both drives, and leave one at a trusted friend or family member's house or offsite location. That way, if some kind of natural disaster strikes, say you get hit by a tornado or fire-nado because climate change, you'll have an extra layer of security. As a final note, in order to keep your budget under $300, you don't need the biggest and all of the parts from this list. You really just need a good SD card of at least 128 gigabytes, a decent offload drive like 500 gigabytes, and then a good archive drive, which I would recommend going at about 2 terabytes minimum, Western Digital, so you can easily match this whole process for under $300. In fact, you might even be able to do it for under $200. Well, that was my storage workflow for 2021 and now 2022. And as I said earlier, all these products are linked in the description down below. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like below to let me know. Do you own any of these hard drives, or have you had a similar experience with Western Digital or Seagate hard drives? What's your storage workflow? Leave a comment down below and let's have a chat about it. I'm actually really curious to see what people's experience has been with Western Digital versus Seagate. And if you have any more in-depth comments, questions, or suggestions, run over to my subreddit r/clipplaytv. And if you want to hear more from me, definitely consider hitting that big red subscribe button and bell notification icon next to it so you can always be in the know when I upload new videos. And as always, see you in the next one.